Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news mashup video featuring Andy Ruiz Jr., who is contemplating a tilt at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Also, David Price returns November 23rd in Liverpool. Daniel Dubois is sharpening his tools, including his jab. And also some results from a poll that I ran on Twitter asking the question, is Luis Ortiz still the boogeyman, as Deontay Wilder asserts? But starting with Andy Ruiz Jr., who put up on his Twitter feed that he had been approached about representing Mexico at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. So you can see here on screen, this is the letter that he shared, dated September 26, so it outlines, what they would potentially ask of him. And Andy Ruiz Jr. in his tweet, so this is on screen now, he says he'd be honoured, but obviously contractual issues potentially would have to be considered and that sort of thing. But the message from Ruiz Jr. in all of this is he hasn't closed the door on this. And the fact that he shared this, there's obviously he is considering it. But I would note that he has subsequently taken down the letter and also deleted the tweet. So why he did that, it's unclear, but obviously he is contemplating a potential berth at Tokyo. And this is not, the only guy that is potentially considering this. We do know that the prospect Bahadur Jalolov has some aspirations of going to the Olympics. He recently won gold at the World Championships, and he has secured a berth at the Olympics, so should he so choose to go there. And obviously the Uzbek prospect is looking to do that. It hasn't made everyone happy. You may recall Mauricio Suleiman sort of saying that it was an outrage that Bahadur Jalolov was at the World Championships and he knocked out Richard Torres brutally at that tournament. But obviously the rules allow that he can do that. And Andy Ruiz Jr. as well being approached, and he has tried to make the Mexican Olympic team previously. He did try to qualify for the Olympics a couple of Olympics back, but didn't actually make the grade there. But this could be an opportunity for him to pursue if he so chooses. And obviously from the initial posting, the letter, and his saying it would be an honour to go there, but he'd have to consider other factors. He hasn't closed the door on it completely, and I think it would be quite interesting to sort of see a guy like Ruiz Jr., obviously one of the biggest names in boxing, heavyweight boxing right now, what he could do at the Olympics. And if he went, that may actually spur others within the division to go. So it's an interesting sort of topic and question, because not everyone would be comfortable seeing, seasoned professional boxers, especially at the high end of the heavyweight division, going to the Olympics and presumably going to dominate. But what do you feel about this? I mean, should Ruiz Jr. go? Do you think he is seriously considering this, or it's more he's put this letter up and obviously the post because he's more flattered by the approach to go to the Olympics and to be considered, something he had tried to do before but failed, and maybe he could go and this would fulfill an Olympic dream? Drop a comment on that. Moving on, David Price is going to be returning on November 23rd in Liverpool on the Callum Smith and John Ryder undercard. So at the press conference, he said, "My confidence is up. It felt great proving people wrong. I'm enjoying the sport again now, and the Allen fight was the first fight in years where I'd actually felt as if I'd won. I'd need to build on things now and move onwards and upwards." And he also said, talking to Sky Sports, that he said if he plays his cards right, hopefully the big one will be next year. He said that he's hoping another win on November 23rd in Liverpool will lead to the biggest fight of his career. And I guess David Price, who many had sort of considered was on the scrap heap, who was more of an oddity within the sport, given how he sort of collapsed within fights and just really folded up quite meekly at times. He really did in that performance against Dave Allen, who is, let's keep it in context, a limited fighter, but he was able to outbox Dave Allen with ease, and this has given him some confidence. He has no opponent yet for that November 23rd card, but obviously he believes it is going to lead to something bigger and better, the biggest fight of his career in 2020. I think he probably is due another half-decent fight off the back of that Allen one. He's sort of secured this, so maybe the November 23rd fight is just going to be more activity, just a bit of a tick over, but we shall see. But obviously he needs to get through that and look good, because if he goes back to the David Price of old and sort of struggles and panics and, gasses out and sort of loses in a bad way, that probably is going to be the end of his career. But the biggest fight of his career, maybe that is sort of stretching it, but we shall see what happens for him November 23rd, and also moving on into 2020. I think most people consider David Price as a lot of promise that was never realised, but maybe it's a bit too late for him to really get to where he maybe ought to have gone in his career. Divided opinions on David Price, but there was a moment towards the end of that press conference. Price, obviously no opponent, he actually had a face-off with Eddie Hearn as a little bit of merriment and mirth at the end of that press conference. And moving on, Daniel Dubois says that he's going to be taking a couple of weeks off, but he is going to be sharpening his tools, and especially his jab. He says, "My jab is a dangerous weapon, and I never overlook the fundamentals and basics of boxing, and they pay dividends against every sort of fighter you can face. My confidence is totally real. I just try to be a real person, and bragging or being boastful isn't me. Genuinely, from my heart, I believe I am the best. I've been told that guys like David Price and Derek Chisora have turned down fights with me, but maybe Uncle Frank will just have to put up more money now." And Dubois has also admitted that he doesn't have a smartphone and others handle his social media accounts. He says, "I don't get involved in talking to any of my rivals. I'm only at the start of my career, so I can't afford any distractions or slip-ups. My performances should have sent a shockwave of a message out. These guys need to know that I am coming." And fights like David Price and Derek Chisora, I think for many, they seem like logical steps for Daniel Dubois as he sort of climbs up the pecking order within the heavyweight division. And sort of putting a name like Price or Chisora on his record sort of will potentially take him to that next step. But obviously, as he pointed out there, money may be an issue now. And someone like Derek Chisora doesn't come cheap. And David Price, he's obviously trying to, at the tail end of his career, make as much money as possible. So, like he says, Frank Warren, his promoter, may have to put more money up now, especially given a lot of opponents within the heavyweight division who have any ambition of going anywhere probably will want to swerve Daniel Dubois as he's coming up. And rounding out this video, the results of a poll that I ran on Twitter, which I did in response to Deontay Wilder saying that Luis Ortiz is the boogeyman until this day. Those two are rematching on November the 23rd in Las Vegas. And he also said the top 10 say he's old, but they won't get in the ring and fight this old man. So I asked the question, is Luis Ortiz still the so-called boogeyman of the heavyweight division? So that was only a 24-hour poll, and 167 votes, 74% overwhelmingly, so 3-1 basically, said no. 26% said yes. So 1 in 4 believe that Ortiz is still the boogeyman, whereas obviously 3 out of 4 do not believe that he holds that moniker. What do you make of this? I mean, I think for the promotion of this fight, Deontay Wilder is going to be talking up this element quite a bit, because obviously, what are the selling points of a rematch that no one was really calling for? There wasn't a massive amount of fan demand, so he has to talk up Luis Ortiz as a dangerous fighter, someone no one else is prepared to take on. As he says, he's blessed him a second time. But is he the boogeyman? You let me know. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.